All right, so you guys sent in some really interesting stuff about Velo Nicotine pouches, and we've got a ton of info from a website that actually sells them. It
Okay.
looks like we get to pick behind the curtain a little bit with their marketing and stuff like that. But we've got product descriptions, we've got flavors, and get this. Velo is all about being modern, a cleaner alternative.
Hmm.
What do you think about all that?
Well, it's pretty interesting how they're positioning themselves, right? They're using terms like modern, discreet.
Hmm.
They're really targeting a consumer who wants their nicotine experience to be, well, a little more under the radar, I guess you could say.
Yeah, definitely. You're right on the money with that. And they keep on hammering home the fact that Velo is tobacco free.
Right.
So it seems like they're going after people who are looking for an alternative to smoking or vaping, but not necessarily ready to give up nicotine altogether.
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
they're tapping into this growing demand for products that offer a less harmful
Yeah.
and more socially acceptable way to enjoy nicotine.
Hmm.
And by comparing themselves to traditional snus, they can highlight advantages like no more stained teeth or bad breath,
Yeah.
which people definitely care
Oh,
about.
for sure. Yeah. Okay, so modern means discreet, maybe a bit more health conscious, but what makes it cleaner? Is it the ingredients? Is it the experience?
That's a great question. Cleaner
Hmm.
is definitely doing some heavy lifting in their marketing. It can refer to several things, the like a tobacco, the way the pouches are made, or even the user experience.
Right.
Velo is really emphasizing a less messy, less smelly way to consume nicotine, which appeals to a certain type of user for sure. It's all about perception.
Yeah, perception is definitely key,
Yeah.
especially when you look at their flavor lineup. I'm seeing everything from your standard mints like Crispy Peppermint and Spiffy Spearmint, but then they go wild with like wintry watermelon, zesty elderflower, even a blushy berry.
Wow. The sheer variety of flavors is pretty remarkable. I think this strategy is likely aimed at attracting a wider audience, particularly younger demographics who are used to having a ton of options. It's like the craft beer of nicotine pouches. You know there's a flavor for everyone.
Yeah, I can see that. Okay, I'll admit some of these flavors are very intriguing to me. Caribbean Spirit Pineapple and Coconut, that sounds like a vacation in a pouch. And then Licorice Slim, I'm picturing like a sophisticated, slightly mysterious vibe. Is this all part of their modern image?
Absolutely.
Huh?
These unique flavors create a sense of novelty and excitement around the product. They're breaking away from that traditional image of snus and trying to establish a whole new category for themselves.
Interesting. Okay. So it's like they're saying, hey, nicotine doesn't have to be boring. We're bringing the fun, the flavor, and a whole new level of choice.
Yeah, and that message resonates, especially with a generation that's used to having options tailored to their individual preferences.
All right. So we've got discreet, cleaner, and flavor galore. But let's talk about the elephant in the room, nicotine itself. The website says Velo pouches come in a range of strengths, from 4 milligrams all the way up to 11 milligrams.
Okay.
What is the thinking behind that?
Well, offering a range of nicotine strengths is crucial because individual tolerance and desired intensity vary so widely. Like a seasoned user might need a higher strength, while someone new to nicotine would likely start with a lower dose. You know, it's about finding the right level for your needs.
That makes sense. And they even mention some advice on managing intake, talking about how long you use a pouch, how many you use per day. Are they trying to promote responsible use?
It appears so.
Yeah.
Yeah, they say the average user goes through about 10 pouches a day, which is half a can. But they also emphasize that this is just an average and everyone's needs are different. So it's crucial for users to be mindful of their consumption habits and avoid excessive nicotine intake.
Yeah, that's a good point. Just because it's tobacco free and comes in these sleek, modern pouches doesn't mean we can forget that nicotine is still an addictive substance.
Exactly. We need to be aware of the potential risks and make informed choices about our consumption.
Now, speaking of responsible choices, Velo highlights their eco friendly efforts and commitment to sustainability on their website. What do you make of that?
That's interesting. They talk about being plant-based and reducing waste. It makes you wonder how the environmental impact of these pouches compares to traditional tobacco products.
Right.
It seems like Velo is trying to appeal to a more environmentally conscious consumer. Maybe this is another aspect of their cleaner image, not just for the user, but for the planet as well.
Yeah, I can see that. Okay, so we've covered a lot about Velo's marketing strategy, their product offerings, and their approach to nicotine. But I'm curious, what's the science behind these pouches? How do they actually work?
That's where things get really fascinating. Unlike traditional tobacco products, Velo pouches contain nicotine salts, which are absorbed differently by the body. They provide a quicker and more intense nicotine hit.
Wait, hold on. Nicotine salts. How is
Hmm,
that different from the nicotine in cigarettes or vaping?
Great question. Nicotine salts are a newer form of nicotine that's becoming increasingly popular in various nicotine delivery systems. It's actually the form of nicotine that's found naturally in tobacco leaves. But in cigarettes and many vaping products, it's converted to freebase nicotine, which has a higher pH and is harsher on the throat.
Oh, so nicotine salts are gentler then. Is that why people find them so appealing?
That's part of it. Nicotine salts also provide a faster and more efficient nicotine delivery, meaning users feel the effects more quickly. And this can be particularly appealing to people seeking a quick and discreet nicotine fix.
So it's like a faster acting, smoother nicotine experience. No wonder it's catching on. But what are the potential downsides of nicotine salts? Are there any long-term health effects we should be aware of?
That's a crucial question, and unfortunately, we don't have all the answers yet. Research on the long-term effects of nicotine salts is still ongoing. However, we do know that nicotine, in any form, is addictive and can have negative health consequences.
It's an important point. It's easy to get caught up in the marketing and the novelty of these products. But we can't forget that they still contain nicotine.
Exactly. Responsible use is key. We need to be aware of the potential risks and make informed decisions about our consumption.
All right, so far we've uncovered Velo's marketing strategy, their unique flavors, and the science behind nicotine salts. But there's so much more to explore. What do you say we take a moment to gather our thoughts and come back to delve even deeper into the world of Velo and the broader landscape of nicotine alternatives? I'm really curious to see where this deep dive takes us.
I'm ready when you are. This is proving to be a truly fascinating exploration.
Definitely.
Yeah. So welcome back. I'm eager to continue our exploration of nicotine alternatives.
Yeah, me too, for sure. We've talked about Velo's marketing, flavors, nicotine strengths. We've even touched on the science behind nicotine salts. But what does all this mean for consumers, like you? What are the potential long-term consequences, both positive and negative, as these products gain popularity?
Right. That's the big question, isn't it? It's a complex issue with no easy answers. On the one hand, you could argue that products like Velo offer a less harmful alternative to smoking,
Uh-huh.
potentially reducing smoking rates.
Right, and that's a huge potential benefit, especially if it helps people quit cigarettes altogether.
Exactly. But on the flip side, there's concern that these products, especially with their discreetness and appealing flavors, could attract new nicotine users,
Right.
particularly young people,
Yeah.
who might not have otherwise used tobacco
That's
products.
the catch-22, right?
Yeah,
They seem like a healthier option, but then they could also lead to a whole new generation of nicotine users.
precisely. And that's why more research is needed to fully understand the long-term impact of these products, both on individual health and on society as a whole.
Yeah.
We need to carefully weigh the potential benefits against the possible risks.
Yeah, it feels like we're in this transitional period where we're figuring out where these products fit into the bigger picture of nicotine use.
Absolutely. And it's not just about the science, it's about perception. As these products become more mainstream, will they become more socially acceptable? Will we see a shift in how we view nicotine use? These are all questions that we as a society need to grapple with.
It's almost like we're redefining our relationship with nicotine. For decades it's been demonized because of its association with cigarettes. But now with these new alternatives, is it possible that we're heading towards a future where nicotine is seen as more acceptable, even desirable?
It's certainly a possibility, and that raises a whole host of ethical questions. For example, if nicotine becomes more normalized, will that make it harder to prevent youth initiation? Will we see an increase in nicotine addiction, even if it's through products that are considered less harmful than cigarettes?
Yeah, these are some weighty questions, and I don't think there are any easy answers. It feels like we're navigating uncharted territory.
We are, and that's why it's so important to have these conversations, to explore the complexities and to approach this issue with a critical eye.
Okay, let's bring it back to Velo for a moment. Something that struck me when we were looking through their website was how they talk about the longevity of their pouches. They mentioned that drier and larger pouches tend to last longer.
Hmm, that's an interesting point. It makes you wonder if pouch design could actually influence consumption patterns. Could a longer-lasting pouch potentially lead to lower overall nicotine intake? Or could it simply extend the duration of exposure? These are questions that researchers are starting to explore.
Yeah, it seems like there's still a lot we don't know about the long-term effects of these products and how different factors, like pouch design, might play a role.
That's true. But as more people use these alternatives, research is catching up. We're gaining a better understanding of their potential for harm reduction, their impact on individual health, and how they fit into the evolving landscape of nicotine use.
And as we learn more, it's crucial to share that knowledge and engage in these thoughtful discussions. It's not just about individual choices, it's about understanding the broader implications for public health and society as a whole.
I completely agree. Knowledge is power. And the more we understand about these products, the better equipped we'll be to make informed decisions, both individually and collectively.
Now, shifting gears a bit, let's talk about Velo's sustainability efforts. Their website highlights their commitment to being eco-friendly, you know, using plant-based materials and reducing waste.
Yeah, that's a significant aspect to consider. Traditional tobacco farming has a detrimental impact on the environment. So it's encouraging to see companies like Velo exploring more sustainable alternatives.
It definitely aligns with the growing consumer demand for products that are not only good for our health, but also good for the planet.
Exactly. And as this trend continues, I think we'll see even more emphasis on sustainability within the nicotine industry.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. We've discussed Velo's marketing strategies, the science of nicotine salts, the potential benefits and risks of nicotine alternatives, and even their environmental impact. But I think it's important to acknowledge that this is a rapidly evolving landscape, and what we know today might change tomorrow.
That's an important point. We need to stay informed and be open to new information as it emerges. And it's crucial to remember that these products, while potentially less harmful than traditional tobacco, are not risk-free.
Definitely. Nicotine in any form is addictive and can have negative health consequences. Responsible use is paramount.
Well said. We need to be mindful of our consumption habits and seek guidance from healthcare professionals if we have any concerns about nicotine dependence.
All right, as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with one final thought. With nicotine alternatives becoming increasingly prevalent, it's crucial to remember that they're not a magic solution. They're tools that can be used responsibly or irresponsibly.
That's an excellent point. The decision to use these products ultimately lies with the individual, but it's a decision that should be made with full awareness of the potential risks and benefits.
And as we've discussed, staying informed means going beyond the marketing, understanding the science, considering the ethical implications, and being mindful of the broader societal impact.
I couldn't agree more. It's an ongoing conversation.
Yep.
And it's one that we all need to be a part of.
So we've done a pretty deep dive here into Velo and nicotine alternatives. As we wrap this up, what's the one thing you really want our listeners to walk away with?
That's a great question. I think the key takeaway is this. The world of nicotine is changing, and it's changing fast. What we knew about nicotine 5 or 10 years ago is already outdated. New products, new science, new social perceptions. It's a whirlwind out there.
Yeah, you're right. It's like the ground is shifting beneath our feet. It's easy to feel overwhelmed with all this new info, all the marketing claims, the different viewpoints.
Exactly. And that's why it's so important to be a critical consumer of information. Don't just accept everything you hear at face value. You really have to dig deeper, ask questions, and form your own conclusions.
It's like we've been given this powerful tool, nicotine, but we're still figuring out how to use it responsibly and how to navigate all the complexities.
That's a great analogy. Nicotine can be used for good or for ill, right? It can help people quit smoking, but it can also lead to addiction. It can offer a sense of relief and pleasure, but it can also harm our health. It's a real double-edged sword.
And it's up to each individual to decide how they want to wield that sword. But to make an informed decision, you need knowledge. You need to understand the science, the risks, the benefits, the broader social context.
Absolutely. We can't shy away from these conversations. We need to talk openly and honestly about nicotine, its effects, its place in our society.
And that's exactly what we're trying to do here on the Deep Dive, right? Provide everyone with the information and insights they need to navigate this complex and ever-changing landscape.
Well said. We've only scratched the surface today, but I really hope this deep dive has sparked some curiosity out there and encouraged you to keep exploring the world of nicotine alternatives.
Me too. And remember, everyone, this is just the beginning of the journey. Keep asking those questions, keep learning, and keep challenging those assumptions. The more you know, the better equipped you'll be to make informed decisions about your health and well-being.
I couldn't agree more. It's been a pleasure joining you on this deep dive, and I can't wait to see where our next exploration takes us.
Thanks for listening, everyone, and until next time, stay curious.